The killing of George Floyd in the US under police custody has created a domino effect in Australia, where hundreds are protesting for the rights of Aboriginals and other Indigenous communities who are facing similar restrictions in equality, justice and freedoms.
You can obviously see there's a lot of things happening over in America, but not only is it happening in America, it's happening all over the country, all over the world, even in our country. It's just a repetitive thing that just constantly happens just because it's the colour of our skin.
Since 1991, over 400 Indigenous people have died in custody. This video newly circulating online shows an Indigenous boy being slammed to the ground by a white police officer who was later given restricted duties for the offence. In 2008, Australia's Prime Minister had formally apologised to Indigenous communities.
We apologise, especially for the removal of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children from their families, their communities and their country.
A National Sorry Day is commemorated in Australia each year on May 26 to remember the mistreatment of Aboriginals in Australia and the stolen generations. But the effects of Australia's history of oppression against its Indigenous people are still being seen today. Indigenous people make up 28% of adult inmates in Australia, but only count for 3% of the Australian population. At one point in 2018, every single child incarcerated in Western Australia was Indigenous. 53% of all young people in detention on an average night in the second quarter of 2019 were Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. Young Indigenous Australians aged 10 to 17 were 21 times more likely than young non-Indigenous Australians to be in detention on an average night. Aboriginal women are more than 20 times more likely to be in prison than non-Aboriginal women, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women were 21.2 times more likely to be in prison than non-Indigenous women. About 97% of people killed in colonial massacres in Australia were Aboriginal men, women and children.
I've been protesting my whole life with this and I haven't seen a change. My dad hasn't seen a change. My grandfather hasn't seen a change. You know, what more else we have to do? Because it's just going to lead to another civil war. That's what's going to happen because, you know, we're not being heard. It's the same thing that's constantly happening all over the globe, all because it's the colour of our skin, and that's the only threat to us, is our own colour.